Hello everyone, how are we all doing? Now, I am doing a video covering how hopeless I felt before the recovery journey, but also how hope started to return throughout as I was getting glimpses of recovery or getting better, feeling better, staying better, and not just going from trigger to trigger. I'll show you how the hope wax and wane, the deflation, the dejection, the feeling completely defeated, all these emotions that we feel. Because I don't know anyone that has remained hopeful throughout the whole journey, because you're dealing with a very intense, very challenging, very chronic disorder. Okay, so let's go into my journey, my personal experience, and how it impacted me. So let's rewind the clock back to 2019. So I first had my first call with Rob July 2019. So let's go back to before that call. So it's a couple of months or a couple of weeks before that call. Now, how was my state of mind? So I was feeling very anxious. I was feeling very depressed, very panicked, very guilty, and hopeless. Utterly hopeless, because at this stage I just discovered what OCD was. I knew a bit about intrusive thoughts, but OCD was always quite new to me. I remember feeling very relieved when I found out what it was, because I knew then I wasn't alone, or I knew then that there was a label for what I was suffering with. There was a diagnosis for what I was going through, but then it didn't come with hope. It came with, no, I wouldn't say it came with hope at all. It just came with, it was just nice to know. It was nice to know that I was suffering with something. But it certainly didn't come with the hopeful feeling, because when you're suffering with OCD chronically, as you know, watching this video, you're just so consumed in your emotional state. So the guilt, the chronic anxiety, just the depression, the DPDR, the derealization, the depersonalization, that can be just throughout 24/7. So when you're so consumed in that, and that's all you can think about 24/7, it's hard to then suddenly feel hopeful. It's hard to then suddenly feel just any element or any degree of hope, because you're so consumed in the symptoms. You're so fixated on the sensations and how bad you feel. So that is why I didn't really feel hopeful at all. So yeah, so let's go back to 2019 when I first started. Now, like I said, that was my emotional state. Those feelings, I was stuck with POCD, harm OCD, real event, false memory OCD, sort of cheating OCD, any kind of guilt-related thing, anything where OCD could latch to the past or latch to the future as well. So you might do this, or you might act on this, or you may be stuck with these thoughts forever. You may be stuck feeling this way forever. So it was always latching for that. So fear of fear was involved as well. So yeah, it was looking for anything where, nope, if you've done this, your life is over. You're done. You're finished. Waste of time. Life is not worthwhile. Life is completely meaningless now. You are bad. You are rotten. You are wrong. You deserve to go to jail. You deserve to be punished. You don't deserve happiness. You don't deserve enjoyment, and so on. So that was my main state. That was how I felt a lot of the time on 24/7. I may have had 5 seconds in the morning of peace. I wouldn't call it peace. I'd call it the moment before your brain clicks into gear. Before it goes, yes, remember this. So before your brain's fully woken up, and then it was suddenly remember something in the past. It was suddenly remember the intrusive thought I had last night. It was suddenly remember the thing that triggered me a day ago or a couple of weeks ago, and then back down the sort of the exhausting, compulsive cycle I went, and just those chronic feelings at the forefront of my mind: the guilt, the anxiety, the panic, the depression, and so on. Okay, so hopelessness. Now, when I look back at hopelessness, I'm going to tell you why I felt that way. It was because I was jumping to the irrational conclusion that I would always feel this way and that I would never get any better. So you can see how that all or nothing, black and white thinking was fueling the emotional state of hopelessness, because I was using neverness and I was using that all or nothing. So that always, okay, so I was saying, I'll never get better and I'm always going to feel this way. Right? And that is why I felt totally hopeless, because I was shutting the door and never getting better. I was shutting the door and never overcoming this, or ever the symptoms decreasing. I was just, nope, I'm going to be like this for the rest of my life. Just that black and white, that 0 to 100, that catastrophic thinking. Okay? Remember, how you feel today does not indicate how you're going to feel forever. Right? Doesn't mean symptoms will suddenly change overnight, because 1 minute you're going to feel good, 1 minute you're going to feel bad, or maybe you've been feeling crap for weeks or years. Okay? But we can now start going towards overcoming and getting better, to not just feeling better, but getting better and staying better. Okay? But if you're watching this video right now and you're at your lowest point and you're at rock bottom and you're in crisis and you're in the depths of hell, remember how you feel today, regardless of the theme, regardless of the real event, the false memory, regardless of the sensation, regardless of how you're feeling, regardless of how down and how low you're feeling, how you feel today does not indicate how you're going to feel forever. I remember once, I'll give you a personal example, when I felt so hopeless. I was driving to work, so I was working in an office and I was driving there, and a song came on the radio, right? Just a song, quite an emotional song. I could relate to the lyrics. And I was just crying my eyes out. I just thought, wow, this is my state. I remember getting really triggered sort of a couple of days before, and I just felt anxious 24/7. But then I remember this song, I just cried my eyes out. And I was thinking, I'm never going to get better. I'm never going to get better. Because it was quite a depressing song. I can't remember the song now. But I remember at the time, I felt so depressed. I felt so down, so defeated, so deflated, so demoralized, completely dejected. I was just given up. The hope had gone. Well, the hope never was out. It was gone. I just felt like chucking a towel in. I just felt like packing it in and just giving up. Hence all the feelings, hopelessness feelings and the very depressive feelings and the suicidal feelings come in, because you just feel like there is no way out. You just feel trapped. You just feel like you're going to be haunted by your own mind for the rest of your life. And that's how it feels. But I remember that example quite vividly, because I just thought, this was sort of 2019, before I started getting in touch with Rob and booking in one-to-one calls. And it just all came out. I was crying for relief. It felt like I was just crying to get out of my chest, just get off my chest, just try and get it all out. Just outcry it, because I got a bit of relief, and then obviously it all come flooding back. Because it felt like I was just so tense and just so locked up and so internalized and fixated on how I felt all the time. Plus I was bottling it all up, because with themes like POCD and any sort of guilt-related theme, real event, false memory, you're so scared to even talk to it about anyone. So I remember just feeling totally hopeless, thinking, wow, this is going to be my internal state for the rest of my life. This is how I'm going to feel for the rest of my life. And I remember feeling incredibly hopeless at that time. I remember going to as you know, I'm a big sporting fan. I remember being at football matches many times, just thinking, well, what's the point of this? What's the point of me even being here? Because I just felt completely and utterly deflated, rock bottom, complete hopelessness. And I just felt that was it. My whole life was just done for. And the reason it latched to football, and the reason I felt it so much at football, because in sort of my teenage years, from when I started going to football, I started going at a young age, but started going properly sort of when I was sort of 12, 13, 14. I was loving it then. I was really invested in it, very focused. It was like my whole life was about football. Going on Saturday 3:00 was my big time, because I'll go to football. All during the week at school, I was just focused on the football, the fixture, who have we got this weekend, going home and away, things like that. So I was really into that. And I remember when I felt really low of OCD, I remember being at football just thinking, what's the point? Because if my team score, what's the point? Doesn't even matter, because I'm going to feel this way for the rest of my life. Even if we score a last minute goal, what's the point? Doesn't matter. You can see I just felt totally dejected, totally defeated. Even if the example that I always use in my videos, that if someone gave me £1 million and I'd probably gone, yeah, because I was just so down. So I felt like no external thing around me, no materialistic thing could change how I felt, because I was just so defeated internally. Hence the feelings of hopelessness and so on. Okay, so and another example that I used was being on vacation. I remember saying, look, I spent all this money, all this time. I remember my partner was really looking forward to it. And I was saying to myself, look, I'm supposed to be enjoying myself here. I should be enjoying myself. You can see the irrational shoulds. You can see the shoulds and the musts and the supposedness and the supposedly. I supposedly should be enjoying this. Well, no, because that's very rational. But anyway, because I was saying that, and then didn't feel good. I felt even worse on holidays. I just felt totally down. I felt I looked very miserable. I just looked completely out of it. And there was that vacant look, that not in the moment, not there, sort of that checked out look. And I remember at times just feeling, wow, like if I'm on holiday, I've spent all this money on holiday and I can't even enjoy that, what is the point? Well, nothing matters really. If I can't enjoy this, if I can't even enjoy that, you can imagine how I felt at the time. Very, very low, very, very down. Because, if I was at work, for example, although it was just a pretty standard, repetitive job, I didn't mind the job, but that was sort of my way out. That was my escape because, yes, I didn't feel good at work, but it was just because I was like, well, I'm just working, I'm here for an income, and it just pays the bills. I didn't feel that bad at work because it was like, well, I need to work anyway. But then when I would look forward to going home, or other people would look forward to going home, enjoying the nice bank holiday weekend, enjoying the sun, enjoying going out for a few beers after, enjoying going on holiday, enjoying going to the football, and I just felt shit. Like, all these people around me, I was quite over jealous, really, because I was thinking, what the hell? Like, look, they can go out and enjoy life, and I've just got to go home and just live in an OCD bubble, and just because I was so convinced it was real, so convinced it was true, so convinced there was no way out. I felt totally trapped. I felt my mind was broken. So that was a very low time. That was a very, very low time for sure. I've got many examples like that, but that's just examples that I use, and I think you can relate to that as well. Because I'm sure, especially if you're new on this journey, you're probably thinking, wow, like, yes, that's me. That's exactly me, Sam, that's me. Because don't worry, I was in your shoes. I've been through, we all have, all of us on the team here, we've been through what you're going through. We know exactly how it feels. We know the feelings that come with OCD, all the sensations, the realness, the intensity. If you're interested in getting in touch with us, because like I said, we can guide you through that for our own personal experience as well. We haven't just read a book on OCD and said, yeah, that sounds difficult. No, we've lived that. We've been at rock bottom. We've been at the depths of hell. So if you are interested in getting in touch, please email phil@ocdrecovery.com. And you can also WhatsApp the number in the description of this video. And we'll go to a WhatsApp page and you can book in, get started with one-to-one calls, get added to our WhatsApp groups, which are very helpful. We've got the constant communication there. Even when you feel hopeless, you've got that crumb of hope because you see other people going through the same thing. You see people who have been through it, people who have recovered, the coaches can give you advice and so on. Okay, so I'd recommend getting in touch for sure. So, but now, why else did I feel so hopeless? Well, I was convinced that I was the treatment-resistant case. I was convinced that mine was different, that mine was real, that I was the exception, right? That I was the anomaly, that I was different from everyone else. So I could see how theirs was OCD, and hers was OCD, and his was OCD, and that dog's was OCD, but not mine. Mine was different. Mine felt like it actually happened. I could see, yes, theirs is just a thought. Yes, I can see how theirs is operating, but no, mine's real. Because you got to think, when OCD latches, when that trigger hits, when you've been stuck with that guilt for a long time and the anxiety for a long time, or if it's just latched to a particular event or particular fear, that feels incredibly real. You cannot underestimate the realness of OCD. So that is why it feels like the previous one, yeah, that's OCD. I can see that's OCD now. No, this one's different, but that one is OCD. Or, that person over there, theirs is OCD, right? That's how it's going to feel, because the knack that OCD has and the talent that OCD has, if you want to call it that, it can make it feel real within a matter of milliseconds. And so convincingly real, you can't tell the difference between whether it's real or not. Okay, it's important to remember that. So when that trigger hits, when you are completely stuck, when it morphs, when it changes, when it moves, when it switches up, remember, it is going to feel completely and utterly and convincingly real. Okay? And that was exactly why I felt treatment resistant. That is why I felt mine was different. That is exactly why I felt mine was the exception. Because it wasn't just thoughts to thoughts. It wasn't just do this exposure and it's gone. Because especially with real event false memory, I felt particularly hopeless with real event false memory because it was an event in the past. This thing actually happened. Or even with false memory. Even if you think it didn't happen, it's going to convince you that it did. Okay, so that was just a never-ending cycle trying to work out whether it's real or false. But that, I felt totally hopeless with that because I was like, well, I can't go back and change the past. The past is done. I can't do anything about it. What do I do? What do I turn to? Nothing. What do I do? And that is how I felt. Okay, so I'm sure you can relate to that if you go through those fears. But any particular OCD theme, you're going to feel totally hopeless. You're going to feel like you're going to be stuck in those symptoms and those sensations forever. You're going to feel like these intrusive thoughts are going to bombard you forever. You're going to feel like all the feelings that come with it, and all the different sort of how OCD, how it operates, and all the different intricacies of OCD, all the avoidance, all the compulsions. It feels like you're going to never get out of the compulsive loop, the OCD loop, the anxiety loop. If you're constantly having panic attacks and so on, it feels like you're never going to get out of that. And that's how it feels. Okay? So, that is enough on hopelessness. Now, how did the feeling of hope return? Okay? Now, this is a really good question, because there was no moment where hope just returned. I didn't just wake up one day and go, ooh, I'm feeling hopeful. No. I'll tell you what happened. So first of all, because I started this call, I said I went back to 2019 when I first started. I would say a couple of calls in. Well, and in the first call, there was an element of hope coming back, because I see, look, Rob, he's obviously been through it. This guy knows what he's talking about. He's obviously guided other people through it. And I thought, maybe there's hope for me. But obviously OCD completely gets you down and completely weighs you down, and it feels like you just forget everything that you've ever been told, and everyone's like, no, mine's real, and you go back down that cycle again. But I say after about 3 to 4 calls, I started to feel right. Because I started listening, I started taking the advice I was getting from Rob on board, I was starting to apply it. So I was starting to read the books on the reading list. I was starting to apply the rational thinking and the unconditional acceptance to my particular fears, to my particular scenario, to my particular worst case scenario. And then I thought, so although I didn't suddenly feel better, the feeling of hope started to come back gradually, because I then realised, I thought, shit, it's my thinking that is causing how I feel. It's my compulsive behaviours which is contributing to my feelings of anxiety, guilt, shame, depression, humiliation, fear, sort of fearful, sort of that self-pity, angst, dread, impending doom, those kind of feelings. And I thought, shit. Now, although OCD was playing a huge part, obviously, you have OCD. But then, remember, OCD takes orders from your beliefs. So I then thought, well, if it's my beliefs that's fueling this, if my beliefs are fueling my emotional disturbance, then the ball is then in my court to start putting the work in to change that. To start working and practicing against my irrational beliefs, and start disputing my irrational beliefs, and start acting against my compulsive behaviours, to stop avoiding, to look at my life structure, to look at my routine and my life habits and my unhealthy addictive behaviours, for example. Okay? And I thought, shit, it's down to me. I'm accountable here. Now, yes, then the hopeless feeling sort of wax and wane, because you go through setbacks and triggers and relapses and all the different ups and downs and the bumpy road of the journey and the emotional roller coaster. So of course you don't just suddenly feel hopeful and it stays, but even just the smallest ounce of hope, I can start seeing it, sort of looking through the cracks through the wall. I can start seeing a light. Here we are. We're getting somewhere, right? Yes, it's not just linear. It's not just straightforward where you feel hope and then you get better. No, because, like I said, the feelings are going to feel more intense. OCD usually takes it up a notch. It then morphs and changes up and lashes something else, feeling totally real again. But when you feel like, I am now in control of my emotional destiny because it's down to me and how I view stuff. Okay? That was a huge hope-giving insight. Okay? Because I realised that it was down to me. It realised that regardless of what may have happened in the past, regardless of what I'm scared of, regardless of what this feared scenario is, it's down to my perception, which is what's fueling my current emotional state. Now, once I realised that, the cogs started to turn. Then the ball started to roll. And then things started to change. And then, like I said, the feeling of hope and hopefulness started to come back into my life. Okay. And then you start seeing other people who have recovered from OCD or doing very, very well. This is why I always recommend the WhatsApp groups, which you'll get in with our coaching, our webinar services, because you see other people going through the same thing. And that helped me massively. I remember I was really, really stuck with POCD, very, very stuck, completely deflated, felt completely defeated. But I saw other people go through the same thing and how they'd overcome that as well, and how they'd been through the same challenges and all the different problems that I've been through, all the difficult things that you face with those particular themes, how real it feels, and just how down you feel and how undeserving you feel, and that internal punishment, that internal rejection. And I thought, wow, if they've been through that and they've got over it, or still trying to get over it, but they're coming a long, long way, I thought, wow, well, why can't I? So that gave me hope as well. So I'd always recommend, like I say, get in touch with the WhatsApp groups so you can see people. You're not alone. You're really, really not alone. You're not trapped. You're not treatment resistant. You're not this strange, rare, weird, unusual, unique case. No, you have OCD and you're scared of something. It's just latched to what you're currently scared of. Okay, so what we're going to do here is look at the core fears, look at the beliefs, look at the behaviors at play, which is fueling that cycle, which is fueling the feelings of guilt, anxiety, panic, depression, and so on. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed that. I've covered quite a lot there. Now, remember, no one's going to feel hopeful the whole way through. Okay, I hope just by watching this video, you feel a lot more hopeful, because if I was in your shoes and I watched this video 5 years ago and I found a video like this, I'd have been, wow, like, this guy's been through it. He's been in my shoes. He understands it. He's been at rock bottom of OCD, and now he's recovered. He has no chronic anxiety. He has no chronic guilt. The intrusive thoughts have lost their intrusiveness. There's just thoughts, and there's nothing in the past that could disrupt my inner peace today. So if I would watch this, I'd think, wow, like if he can do it, then I can do it. Okay, that doesn't mean you just suddenly wake up and it's all gone. But what's that hope? As you're alive, if you're alive, there is hope, right? As if you're breathing, if you're just alive, and just with eyes open, and you still exist, then there is hope. If you're dead, if you're not on planet Earth anymore, then there is no hope. But even then, if you're on Mars, if you're the first person on Mars, then there's hope because you're still alive. You could be the first person to ever recover on Mars. That'd be pretty funny. Got off on a tangent there. Right. But yeah, going back to the point. As long as you're alive, as long as you're here, there's hope. Okay? Regardless of what you've been through. Regardless of what you've been through in the past. Regardless of how long you've been stuck, or the severity of being stuck. If you've suffered really severely, if you've been stuck for 70 years, 80 years, there's hope, and you can get better, because it doesn't matter how long you've been stuck. The only thing that matters now is how you are viewing things today, how you are carrying on and continuing your emotional disturbance today with your current beliefs, with your current perspectives, with your behaviors, with your compulsions, with your avoidance, with your life structure, and so on. Okay, there is so much hope. I cannot highlight that enough. I have been in a place where I felt totally hopeless, defeated, completely deflated. I thought I was sure that I would never get better. I was certain that I'd never get better. I felt stuck forever because I was saying things like, I'll always feel this way, I'll never get better. I was jumping to that irrational conclusion without actually putting any of the work. Yes, it feels like that. I know fully it feels like that. I've lived that. It totally feels like that. But we've got to try and cling on to that crumb of hope, even in the darkest times, even in the most deepest of struggles. That's so, so important. We've been there. You're going through it right now. You've got this. You can get there. You will get there. It takes patience, it takes time, it takes consistency, it takes practice, it takes persistence, but recovery is so worth it. Regardless of how hopeless you currently feel, there is so much hope. You can get there, and you will get there. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you're interested in one-to-one calls, please email phil@ocdrecovery.com, and you can start your journey with us today.